Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And I have a tutorial for you today it's not what I had planned to do today, but I've seen out on the craft fair circuit. I don't really take part in those, but I do like going to see what's out there. And I have been seeing these cute little bracelets that people are making for gifts. And they're selling out there for $15, $20. They're the cutest things, and would make the most adorable gifts. But they're so easy to make that I thought they're very delicate, they're very cute, sweet, and would make beautiful gifts or something for you to wear. So I thought I would show you how to make them for yourself. You can make one of these in well under an hour and do several of them. Gift giving season is not necessarily around the corner, but it's coming up, and you could make a lot of these cute little bracelets for a fraction of what you would pay for them at a craft fair or in the store, especially in the store. So I thought I would show you how to make them. We're going to, I don't know if you can see it on here, we're going to make our own clasp. It's going to be embellished with metal beads, and we're going to just use a row of beads for our focal piece. And I'm going to show you how to do that because it really is cathartic to sit there and just make these little bracelets over and over and over, and they come out so lovely. So what we're going to need for this particular piece is round nose pliers, and they're called that because the barrels are completely round, going all the way around. And we have chain nose or square nose pliers, and those are squared off on the inside and slightly rounded on the outside. And then we have our cutters, which are exactly what they say. They just cut your wire. We also need 20 gauge wire, a selection of beads. I'm going to be using these, what do I have here? Crazy lace agate beads, some metal beads. I'm just using, you can use 3mm, 4mm little metal beads, jump rings, and a ruler for measuring. And that's all you need for this. Beads, wire. Oh, the last but not least, you need some chain. So beads, wire, and chain. That's it. That's all you need to make this piece. And let's go ahead and get started because I really am looking forward to showing you how to make these pretty little bracelets. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make this little focal piece, which is basically a bar with whatever beads you want to put on it. I'm using 6mm crazy lace agate beads. And there's another one that I did. And then there's this one that I did. And it's just so neat. And so I don't like to use the word easy. People always call me on that. They say, nah, it's easy for you. Okay. All right. And then we're going to make our own clasp. Let me see if I can get this to focus a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so we're going to make our own clasp. The hook they're both, the hook and the loop are going to be embellished with small metal beads. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is make our focal piece. Now what I'm using is 5 of these 6mm beads, and what I need to do is find out how much wire those beads will take up and add another 1.25 inches on each side to wrap the pin that they're going to go on. So these are my beads. It's going to take up about a little less than 2 inches of space, about 1 7/8. So we're just going to say 2 inches. So I'm going to need about 3 inches, 4 inches, an inch on each side in order to make a wrapped loop. So I'm going to give myself 4 inches of wire. I think I'll give myself just a tiny bit more, just so I have something to play with. Okay, so 4 inches of wire. Again, I'm using 20 gauge. And I'm going to measure about an inch from the end of my wire, an inch from the tip. I'm going to bend back my wire like so. Grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to slide the pliers under my wire and grasp it. So my pliers are under the short tail. I'm going to bring that short tail across and over the pliers and down to the side, like so. Then I'm going to hold my wire, and without moving the wire, I'm going to open my pliers up, reposition them, just rotate them back towards myself, and grasp my wire again. And then I'm going to bring that short tail under the pliers until I have a loop. It's a little blurry. Let's see if I can get that to focus a little bit better. Just fading in and out. And there's my loop. And then I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to grab my square pliers or my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to wrap that short tail around the long stem of my wire. Just 2 times is plenty. And I like the little tip to end up right under the center of my loop. I don't like it sticking out the side, because then I'll snag on something more than likely. So if I have it centered under my loop, I have a little more control on how the little tip will lay. So I'm going to cut that little tip off as close as I can get to the other wires, to the wrapped wire. That little tip is too short for me to grab, so I'm going to take this little spool and turn that down into it, cut it off, and so it pops right in. I wondered where those earrings went. Okay, I'm going to dig those out later and let that drop down into that little spool. Then I'm going to take my flat pliers and I'm going to push that little tail down against the rest of the wire. So it's nice and tidy. It won't scratch me or my clothes. There we go. Then I'm going to use, you can use 3mm or 4mm rounds, and I'm going to take 2 of them and feed them on my pen first. And now this is just my design. I decided to keep it very, very simple and just use the metal beads as a border on each side, and then the other beads in the center. You can mix them up. You can do it any way that strikes your fancy. So now I'm going to feed on my crazy lace agate beads. And I've got 5 6mm. Okay. And then the last two metal beads. And I'm using bronze because I made the other two bracelets, one with silver wire and chain, this one, and the other one with rose gold wire and chain. So I thought I'd show you one with bronze. Okay, so there's my little focal piece. And now I'm going to make a loop on the other end to close up, to close it up, to close everything up so that my beads will stay in place. So what I need to do is use the tip of my pliers and place them, just position them right on top of my beads. I'm going to pull my wire back. Now, what I want is for that wire to go, the loop right here is flat, and that wire at the top, this loop is going to go in the same direction as this one. So this is flat, so this is going from left to right. And I have this little space underneath, right between this tail of wire and my beads, so I have space to wrap in. Now I'm going to slide my wire under my little short tail. And if you're wondering, you can mark your beads, I mean your pliers, in the spot so that you can make sure that your loops are all the same size. Or if you don't want to mark up your pliers, you can go back down here and slide the wire, the loop over your pliers, just to get an idea of where you should put the wire for the second loop. Okay, so my pliers are under that tail of wire and just right snug against the side of the wire that's bent here. Then I'm going to bring that tail over the top and down the side, like so. Then I'm going to open my pliers, again without shifting my wire. I'm going to rotate it back, just reposition them on top, and then bring that tail under my pliers. Now you don't ever want to go over both of these barrels. I'm just bringing it under, and it's still just wrapped around one of the barrels. And there's my loop. And now I'm going to grab my flat pliers again. And I'm going to wrap that tail around my wire and just fill in that space. It should only take about 2 wraps like we did on the other side. And if you need an extra wrap, that's fine too. I just want to fill in that space. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to cut off that little tail. And I think it's long enough so that I can hold on to it so that it doesn't fly across the rim. And throw that little excess piece of wire away. And let's find the little tip that I just left behind and push it down with my flat or chain nose pliers. Yeah, nice and neat. So there's my focal piece. So the next thing I need to do is cut my chain. So my focal piece is measuring about 2¼ inches across. You need to measure your arm to determine how much chain you need. Now I have the 2¼ inches that I'm going to use for my focal piece. I'm going to have a couple of jump rings, and I'm going to have my clasp. So my arm is about 7½ inches. So what I would suggest that you do is measure your chain a little bit longer than you actually need, just a tiny bit. So that, because if you cut too short an amount, you're going to end up cutting more chain anyway. But what I'm going to do, my hook and loop are going to take up approximately 1¼ inch. Not much more than that, if that. And it depends on how big you make your hook and your loop. So I'm going to add that measurement to my focal piece. So that's going to give me about 1 inch will be 3¼ and then another quarter will make it 3½ which means I need 2 inches on each side of my focal piece. And that is not including my jump rings. So that should give me plenty. So I'm going to go ahead and cut, and I may end up having to cut some off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 4 inches of chain. Inches. Got a little more than 4. Okay. Then I'm going to cut that in half. Let's take my little ends, and the easiest way to do that is to take a little piece of wire and grab the ends, the last loop on each side of my chain here. Just going to stick that wire through. If I can get it to go in there, please cooperate with me. Thank you very much. And the other side. And let's find that center loop and cut. It didn't cut. Okay, let's do it again. Where are you? There you are. Now we have 2 pieces. And there are my 2 pieces of chain. So we're going to put that to the side. We're going to put our focal piece to the side. Let me take a look real quick here. This is what we've got so far. I'm going to put it together with some jump rings. Yes. Let's go on and make our hook and our loop for our clasp. Okay, let's start with the loop. For that, I need 3 inches of wire. So I'm going to cut myself 3 inches of wire. And I'm going to start by making a small loop. Give myself about 3/4 inch of wire. Bend my wire back. Slide my pliers under that short tail of wire. Bring the wire over the top of my pliers and down the side. Open the pliers up, rotate them back, and grasp my wire again and bring that short tail under the pliers. And I have a lip. Let's grab my square pliers, grasp my loop, and wrap around the stem. And let's just wrap around there a couple of times. Okay, and once I have that wrapped, flip off that little end so that the end is right there resting under the loop, the center of the loop. And again, very short. Just the end down against the other wraps. And now I'm going to add a metal bead just for a little embellishment. Come on, there we go. And now I'm going to make my loop. So this is not directional, so you don't really need to worry too much about which direction these loops are going. I just like one loop to be one way and the other to be the other way because I feel like it makes it a little less, it just makes it look neater if the loops, if one's laying flat and the other's going right, one's going right to left and one's going up and down. I think it looks a little bit neater. So I have this loop going from right to left. It's flat now, and I'm going to bend my wire back so that it's up and down. Just like that. Then I'm going to slide my pliers under the tail of wire, grasp my wire. Actually, I'm going to slide back a little bit further because I want this loop to be the one that my hook goes through. So it needs to be big enough for my hook to go through. It doesn't have to be too big, and I want it to be not huge. I want it to be nice, neat, and tidy. So I'm just going to go about halfway down my pliers. I'm going to bring that tail of wire over my pliers and down the side, just like we made all of our other loops. Hold on to my beads, and without moving my wire, I'm going to open my pliers, rotate back, and grasp my wire again, and bring that tail under my pliers until I have a loop. There's my loop. Now I'm going to grab my flat pliers. See how much wire I have left? Did not need that much, but that's okay. So now I'm going to wrap down that stem. And it looks like it probably don't need more than about 3 wraps. Nice and snug. Want to make sure I fill in the entire space down there. Yes. And cut it off so that the little end will rest in between, in the center of my loop. Cut that off. And push that little end down against the rest of the wires. There we go. So there's the loop part of my clasp. Now let's make the hook. So now I'm going to grab 4 inches of wire for my hook. Okay, measure that out, cut it off. And I'm gonna, let's see, I'm going to give myself about 1 1/8 inches. It doesn't have to be any more than that because I don't want a huge hook. I just want something substantial, but in keeping with the size of the chain and not too overpowering. I want it to just blend right in. Okay, so I've got my little 1 1/8 inches of wire. I'm going to fold that wire down so that this short tail is lined up beside the long tail. And I'm going to squeeze those 2 wires together until they're side by side. If you can do it with your fingers the whole way, great. If not, grab your pliers and squeeze the rest of it. Nice and easy. Just take your time and be patient. Nice and easy so I don't mar my wire. And I do it long ways like this because if I do it on the side, I end up with a little bump. And I prefer to have it nice and straight. Let's see what I've got here. Come on. Here we go. Okay, so there are my 2 wires side by side. So what I'm going to do now is measure about 3/4 from the folded tip. That's how much I need for my hook. And then I'm going to go down here to the bottom that's not folded, and I'm going to fold that wire up like so. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers, grasp my wire. Now you don't have to have it in a death grip because you don't want to mar your wire in any way, or this is coated, so I don't want to ruin the coating. So now I'm going to wrap this little tail around the long stem. And again, you only need about 2 wraps. I'm going to keep that nice and close together. Okay. And then when I can't go any further, I'm going to push down that end just like we always do, so that that tip is nice and close to the other wraps. Nice and smooth. Then I'm going to grab another metal bead, slide it on, and again, look at all that wire I have left. Virginia. Slide that on. That's my little embellishment. And I'm going to bend my wire out to the side, and it's going to be, let's see here, chain. I'm going to have my jump around into my chain. Yes. It's going to be going side to side. Here are my two wires, side to side. And I'm going to bend my wire back also side to side, because when I make my hook, it's going to be going up and down. So I'm going to grab my round pliers, grab that wire right there with the tip, bend it back, and I'm right here above my little bead. Take my pliers out and slide them under my wire. I'm going to go about a third of the way down my pliers. It doesn't have to be too big, and I can go here and check to see what size my small loop is on my loop here, and go to the same spot just so I have some continuity in size. Then I'm going to bring the tail of wire over the top of my pliers and down the side. Hold on to my beads, open my pliers, rotate back, and grasp my wire again, and then bring that tail under the pliers and out to the side. Flat nose pliers, grasp the loop, and wrap that tail around the stem. That was two. I'm going to need one more little wrap. And we are good. Check the other side, make sure it's nicely filled in. Yes, it is. And clip that off until that little tail, that little tip is right under the center of my loop. Clip it. And push that little tail down. And down in there between the other wraps and the bead. And it's time now to make my hook. Now, this is where the wire, the little tips of wire are. And I like to have the hook going over that so that it's not on top here where it could still catch on something. I'm going to neaten this up just a tad. Yeah. All right. So now it's time to make my little hook. So I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to place it under my wire. I'm going to leave a little bit of that sticking out, maybe 1/8 of an inch of the folded part sticking out. So you can see that. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to slide this all the way back to the back of my pliers just before I get to the hilt. And then I'm going to rotate my pliers until I have a hook. So I want the tip of my plier, wire, to touch the bottom where my bead is. And there's my hook. So now I'm going to bend the wire back just a little bit, just above the bead, to give myself a little neck. I'm going to go back in and push that down against the bead. Neaten that up a little bit. Now I'm going to take my pliers, it could be your round ones or your square ones, just under the folded end and I'm going to slide my pliers under that folded end. And I'm just going to give it a little tweak up, like so, just a little bit. So now I have a little ledge. And I like to push that tip down so that it's resting lightly against the rest of my hook. Just resting lightly against that bead. And there's my hook. Here it is. And let's check it out. That should fit nicely through my loop. Yes, it does. And if you need to go back in and neaten it up a little bit, I can see this a little bit crooked here. Let's fix that. There we go. Now let's put everything together. So I have all my pieces now. I have my chain. I have my jump rings. I have my hook and I have my eye. And let's just put it all together. Yes, okay. So what I'm going to do, note I only have 2 jump rings here. I need 4 jump rings. What do you think, Virginia? Let me get another couple of jump rings here. Now, the jump rings that I'm using are 6 millimeter. And I'm using small ones because I wanted I wanted it to be not too overpowering for my chain, because I have some nice small chain here. Doing something a little dainty. It's very strong, but it looks very dainty. And then it's going to also go with my hook and with my eye. So I don't want the jump rings to be huge. So I'm using 6 millimeter jump rings. So let's open those up. So the way I do that, there's a couple of ways you can do it. I grasp one side of my jump ring with my pliers. Okay, there's a little opening right here. Yes, and then with the other pair, another pair of pliers, I'm going to grasp the other side and I'm going to twist my jump ring open. And I'm going to do that with all 4 of them. One pair of pliers on one side, another pair of pliers on the other side, and twist. Another way to do it, here's my opening. One pair of pliers and take your thumb and just push down until it's open. And let's do that again. Find the opening. There it is. One pair of pliers and my thumb is all I need to open this up. Just twist my pliers and push with my thumb. And it's open. I'm not getting a lot of focus here today for some reason. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to put everything together. So I'm going to take one jump ring. I'm going to attach it to the small ring on my loop. I guess you can call this the eye of the clasp. And then I'm going to take that one end of my chain and attach it to the jump ring and close that up. Make sure that the ends of your jump ring are nicely together. They should be matching up, back to back, nice and flush. Then I'm going to go over to the other side and attach one end of my chain and my hook and close it. There we go. Now the next thing I'm going to do is measure. I had a long ruler here. I took them all to my class today and they're in my bag. I think I'll go get them. I just want to measure to see approximately how close to my 7.5 inches I am. Because the good thing about using jump rings is that I can open them and shorten it if I need to. But let me go get a long ruler. Oh, I don't have to go anywhere. Where's on there? And see what it looks like so far. All right. Yes. I have a little more than I need. I need 7.5 inches. So I'm going to take that down a little bit. Do. And I would suggest that you can measure with the ruler. You can also measure it on your arm just to be sure and safe. Okay, so that's a little more than 7.5. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off and then remeasure. Measure once, measure twice, measure 3 times before you do anything. Always a good idea. Let's see what we got there. Cut off a couple of those links. Where are we? Boom. It didn't come off when I cut it. There you go. All right. Looks pretty good. Yes. Let's add my jump rings. Put the jump ring through the other end of my wire. That doesn't have the loop on it. And the focal bead, my focal point. Close that up. We use the 2-plier approach and twist it closed. Yes. Okay, and then go to the other side. Grab my last jump ring. Hook it through the last loop in my chain. And the loop at the end of my focal piece. And close. Make sure the ends are flush against each other. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a bracelet. Yes, let's check it out because it looks like it's almost 8 inches, which for me is a little on the big side. And look at what I did. I I attached it to, no, that's right. No, that's right. Oh, look, isn't that perfect? My jump ring is the same size as my loop. How do you like them apples? The other thing you want to do is kind of shape your little bar here because you don't want it just sticking out side to side. You want it to kind of fit the roundness of your wrist. So just shape it a little bit like that so that it'll sit comfortably on your wrist. And let's try it on. Oh, here we go. And there's my bracelet. There's my little hook and my loop. And there we are. Nice. Isn't that cute? It's very nice, very sweet, not overpowering, not too heavy, but just enough to enhance whatever outfit you're wearing. Here's another one. And that's it, ladies and gents. We have a bracelet. We have another winner. What do you think? Something that you might want to make for a gift or to give to yourself? You can always make them, you can make 2 of them and give them to a good friend so that you both have the same bracelet. What do you think of that? So easy to do. That's it. That's what I wanted to show you how to do. Every once in a while, I want to just throw something really easy at you. And I hope that I went easily enough. I don't like to use the word slow, but I hope I went at an easy enough speed so that you could, if you're following along, you can do it as I do it. So I would love to hear what you think of these little bracelets. I would love to hear what you think about the tutorial, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, and if you didn't like it, why you didn't like it, if there's something you didn't understand or something that I didn't explain clearly. I would love to know because it's all about getting better for me and making sure that you can follow my every word, action, and move. So my email is jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. Or you can drop a comment on the DeKalb County Library Facebook page. That's facebook.com/DEKALBLIBRARY. And let us know what you thought. Send us pictures. I love to see pictures of what other people do with these tutorials. Those of you who get kits, well, I'm going to give you enough beads and brace and chain and wire to make 2 bracelets, maybe 3, but at least 2 bracelets. And I want to see what you do with that because I would love, absolutely love to see your take on this particular design. So until next time, have a great week, enjoy your weekend, and we hope to see you again later. Bye-bye.